For today's weekly transmission, one of the things that I've been feeling this week a little is my reference points kind of changing. And when you're thinking about reference points or what really are reference points, you can think about it as like how I see myself or how others see me, or maybe the narratives or stories I tell that I say these narratives and stories make up who I am. And when we choose differently from those narratives and stories, or we just choose differently than how we've chosen in the past, or maybe we're just going through a little bit of an upgrade and our reference points about ourselves are changing, or the reference points of how other people see us is changing a little. It can feel almost like we are walking on moving ground, and it can feel like we're like off, out of balance, or we just feel off all day, or maybe it's a feeling of like I feel like there's a step for me to take, but it doesn't feel like that step has appeared yet. And when that is happening, there's nothing wrong, and you actually are going through an upgrade. You are going through moving into greater levels of balance, greater levels of truth, and it's not something to be like, oh, I feel so off today. Like I must like my chakras must be off. I must have went went ate something that didn't sit well, or looked at my phone too much. And sure, like sometimes things like that do knock us out of balance a little bit, and so it's something to be aware of. If I'm feeling out of balance, if I'm feeling a little off, one, looking, how were my choices today? Did I choose things that would knock me out of balance, like binge a bunch of Instagram scrolling, or watch a bunch of movies to the point where it didn't really feel that healthy? Or did I choose a substance or choose pornography, and now I'm feeling a little off? Like that's something that does knock us out of balance typically. But if we haven't done any of those choices really and feel like we're having a normal day and just feel a little off or out of balance, it could be a sign that, hey, your ideas, your labels, the stories you tell about yourself, you're choosing a little differently, or you're choosing a little bit from more of an empowered place than you were a couple weeks ago, or you were a couple months ago. And so your reference points are shifting and changing to align you with the new level of balance and harmony that you are now embodying to a greater degree. And when that happens, we will feel off or out of balance, because oftentimes greater levels of balance, when that's foreign to us, feels like out of balance. And so if we are feeling that and our choices have been good for the week and we're just feeling a little off or out of balance, it's something that will probably only last like a couple hours, or maybe a day, or maybe a day or two. But it's really a sign of we're crushing it. And it's a time when we could congratulate ourselves rather than be hard on ourselves. And the other little thing I wanted to talk about on this was like a fear of vulnerability. And with vulnerability, you know, I think oftentimes we can come from a perspective of vulnerability of like, oh, it's not safe to share like all of myself with people, or I'm afraid of being too much for people. And so we tend to try and hide and kind of like hold back or be picky about who we share what with. And there's always a little truth in every perspective. And there is a truth of like, certain people are going to be able to handle my vulnerability less better, like less good than other people. And really, I believe like vulnerability and honesty is like a great way to weed out people who, it's like when you're starting a friendship with someone, or maybe even starting to date someone, how do they handle vulnerability? How do they handle deep parts of myself that I don't really like seeing people to see? And when I talk about it with them, do they lean in and go, I want to get to know this person more? Or do they go, ooh, too much? And something like that, like in new friendships and relationships, it's always better to like get to know someone a little bit first, or have a little bit of a foundation before we share our deepest darkest secrets with them. But really, I believe like vulnerability weeds people out, and it lets you know who can handle depth and who's afraid of depth. And even in ourselves, oftentimes our darkened aspects of us, or our greatest pain, hides in the not expressing. It hides in, if this person never talks about, if we never talk about our wounds, it's actually what keeps our shame and guilt, or it keeps the experiences that we feel really bad about. It keeps that pain trapped in our body, because when you are expressing something, you are expressing it out of you. Even if you just took your deepest pain and made a poem about it, or made a painting about it, and you were the only one who saw it, you are essentially honoring and acknowledging that pain. When we can honor and acknowledge our pain and face our pain rather than avoid it, or pretend like we're not still healing from that experience that happened a couple months ago or years ago or whatever, when we can acknowledge, this experience really harmed me, and I'm gonna honor the harm I feel around this, or I'm going to talk about this harm I went through with other people, as a way of allowing them to see me on a deeper level, and also a way of not hiding from this pain, but allowing this pain to be witnessed for and acknowledged for the experience that that innocent part of us survived and endured, and is now hurting and going through a transmutation process of finding its way back into wholeness. And one of the ways we can find our way back into wholeness is by being more vulnerable and being more willing to express our pain in art with ourselves, or talking about it with others. And when we express it with others, it allows people to really see you. And you know like oftentimes for I'm gonna oftentimes when we go to like concerts or shows, we're looking at someone perform, and we go, that person is beautiful. And then sometimes, and maybe if we're going to less popular shows, where it's like a small venue, we can then go up and have a conversation with them. And the beauty we saw with them on stage isn't the same beauty we see when we are having a normal conversation with them. And why that happens is, when people are expressing their soul essence, what we see is beauty. And your vulnerability is an aspect of your truer self, which you could think of as your soul essence. And it is actually, when we are expressing our pain, is actually what is transmuting that pain into greater and greater beauty. And really, when we're feeling safe to be vulnerable, what is the energy we're anchoring? But it's an energy of, it is safe to be open. It is safe to be open-hearted. And it's actually what will create greater unity, greater safety, greater openness across this whole planet, is just being more vulnerable. And like in the future, or on other planets where species are more evolved than us, people can have a like small talk with someone, and they will know a lot. They will get impressions and know like so much about the person's past, how they're feeling today, because there's a greater level of openness, empathy, and heart energy on this planet. And heart energy is all knowing. And in truth, like in order for us to one see others clearer, and two allow others to see clear us a little bit more clearly and know how to meet us better, it is the act of vulnerability. And vulnerability will create greater love on this planet. Vulnerability will create greater unity on this planet, and also will help you sharpen your discernment of who can meet my depth and who can't meet my depth. And it will let you know who is right for me to get closer with, and who should I not get closer with. And vulnerability is going to create the web of light on this planet that heals all wars, that heals that heals all separation and harm on this planet, because harm can only happen when we feel separate from others, or when we feel separate from our own heart, or when we feel separate from the whole. And the moment we go, this part of me is not separate, this part is an aspect of my journey, and I'm not going to hide in avoidance from this part anymore, and I'm going to bring it into the whole by expressing it, is the moment our heart opens to a greater degree, is the moment greater love and light is flowing through us, and it's the moment that we remind all the power of being vulnerable, and we help people remember that just because we're all in different bodies doesn't mean we're all that different. And when we can bring that more into our day-to-day life and start to treat others as almost like they're different they're and this an aspect of us ourselves in a different body, is the moment greater care, kindness, and respect is birthed on this planet. So I hope that helps. Thank you for listening. I love you all. Bye.